So at this point, Ray, we're seeing if we can't fit these bedding pillars.
Yeah, just getting a little rotary file here to open up the channels for the pillars themselves.
All right, and we have a few of the pillars in place. There's the forward one.
That was pretty much ready. We're going to roughen it up a little bit so it'll glue in place well.
Well, we've gotten a little bit of leeway on this Mosin stock, and we're nearing completion of the Sporter rifle in general here. We've already set the bedding pillars in place. It's probably going to be difficult to see from this particular angle. Well, actually, you can see it just fine. There's the rear. We have the rear pillar right there that you can see coming out. And basically all we did was just rough up the pillars and put plenty of Brownell's steel bed compound around them and inside the holes, and set the pillars in place with the barreled action and magazine all clamped together nice and tight so we get a nice tight fit. And then what I've done is taken modeling clay and I've dammed up all of the areas in here that we don't want the solutions seeping down into and causing any sort of mechanical fit, reverse mechanical fit of the action that would cause it to be difficult to remove or otherwise just make it look bad. We want nice clean lines, good straight clean lines. So I think that's what we've accomplished here. So basically we're going to set some compound in here. You can see the barreled action. I've plugged up a few of the holes on the action that obviously we don't want the steel compound working its way down into any of those small recesses, because we don't want to create a mechanical bond between the barreled action and the stock that would make it basically a real pain in the butt to remove. So we're going to start laying down some bedding compound in this stock and get it all slathered in there real nice. Alright, so we're going to take here's our resin. Looks like this, kind of like putty. And then our hardening agent, which looks almost kind of like an abrasive compound, but it's not abrasive. It's just looks about like that. Okay, so I'm going to take a tablespoon. I think is going to work just fine. Sort of a well rounded off tablespoon as best I can. I mean, about that much. Sort of get that in there a little bit. I mean, it's not a exact science in terms of the mixture. You want to get as close as you can. Alright. Want to get as close as we can in terms of the mixture. Alright. Now what I've got to do is I've got to clean this sucker off because we don't want to dip that in our hardener. I'm sure there's better ways to do this. We're still experimenting, so probably end up finding a more efficient method of actually dispensing these solutions as time goes on. But hey, got to start somewhere with it. We're going to clean our scribe off. Alright, and then do the same thing with the hardening agent. Just get us a little dab of the hardener. Alright. Put that in our little cup here. And we're going to use this scribe that I've got here to actually mix it. And this should be enough. I mean, if we got to mix up more, we can, but we don't want to waste material or anything like that. I think that's going to suffice right there. So we're just going to take and mix up our glass itself. Well, it's not glass, actually steel bed. Brownell's makes a few different products for bedding stocks and doing stock repairs. They make a product called Acra Glass, which is good for glass bedding and repairs. And they make another one called Acra Gel. And Ray, is that made to run or is that made to stay?
Acra Gel is meant to stay if you
okay.
put something in an odd position.
Right.
Acra Glass is nice because it'll leach down into cracks and crevices if you want it to. It's bad if you don't want it to. So
Right.
You got to decide on which of the different ones you want to use.
Yeah, you got to use the proper product for the proper application. Now, in the instance of what we're trying to do here, we're going with steel bed because it's a nice, strong compound that it really just makes a nice, firm surface for that action to sit in. So I'm going to mix this a little more, and we're going to start dropping some of this down in the stock here, and I'll show you some of the actual damming that we've done in the stock. And I do want to mention that the use of the release agent is very important. You want to make sure that you coat all of your metal surfaces, to include threads and things of that nature, and any sort of recesses with the actual aerosol release agent, or else you're going to have a real pickle of a time separating the action from the stock, to include damaging the stock and or, in severe cases, the barreled action itself. Alright, so you see how we've got everything dammed in. Ray went ahead and dammed in the magazine itself with putty. That helps to keep everything from being very difficult to separate once it's all set up. We definitely don't want to cause damage to the stock or anything like that once we've taken everything apart. And he's basically just slathering everything in there. And what's going to happen is, once all this, we've got a base layer of the steel bed actually laid down, what will happen is we'll take the barreled action and go ahead and clamp it in place nice and tightly, or actually install it in place and torque down our action screws. And it's basically going to squeeze all of the steel bed all out and make a nice flush fit. And hopefully this little rifle is going to shoot real nice. A lot of our preliminary work with the setup so far has been very promising. I know we've gotten quite a few questions about when we're going to be able to finish this video and everything like that and get this little gun wrapped up. And I mean, truth be told, it's just been real busy. Lots of gun work here at the shop and lots of projects going on, and I'm sure Ray can attest that this is kind of one of those things that you have to be sort of in the mood to do.
Definitely.
Not one of those gunsmithing operations that most gunsmiths probably don't really enjoy doing it per se, but it's almost necessary if you've got a custom stock that you're wanting to fit properly, and if you want it to shoot real nice, you know, good bedding job is important.
So drop-in fits are generally not.
Yep. I know this stock was advertised as being a 99% inlet with relatively no hand fitting required, but I can vouch that this Boyd stock required considerable fitting, especially for the bedding operation. But even from a drop-in standpoint, there was a considerable amount of fitting required in order to get the stock to fit at least reasonably well with the action and to operate properly. Part of that comes from the variations in so many of the different Russian rifles, the tooling they used and the machinery. I'm sure not all of the receivers and barrels were machined to an exact standard in terms of all being uniform, so you can expect that.
We're going to drop this thing in here and we're going to screw her down real quick before this stuff has time to get in the way.
Yeah, and we are going to get some oozage here out of the top once we do so.
Oh, yeah.
And we're just going to touch that up. And we did spray the barreled action down with a ton of release agent because we don't want to play around with this. Definitely not.
Not at all. I'm going to put this damn screw in here before this shit gets down in the hole. There we go.
Moving for you.
Yeah, so it went down fine.
Nice.
And, fine.
Going. worked down nice.
That's it. Pulled right on down very nicely. I think we picked just about the right amount of compound to throw in there. Everything's looking really good.
Not really oozing out too bad, is it?
Not too bad. Just a few little odds and ends here and there.
So at this point, we're pretty much going to let this barreled action sit up probably about 3 days or so, give or take. And once we separate everything, we'll make sure all our lines look good. And we'll do a quick bedding of the magazine itself, which should not be horribly difficult at all to do. And we should be ready to do a little bit of final sanding on the stock and get a little coat of oil on it. And gun should be ready to take out after we get our bore sighting operation done. We already got the Weaver K4 picked out for it, got the rings installed, so all we got to do is just get that bad boy clamped down and bore sighted, and should be ready to take it out and shoot.